President Trump is expected to meet with world leaders this weekend at the G-20 summit in Buenos Aires, Argentina, but he has canceled his Saturday meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett is traveling with the president.
Shortly after Air Force One left Washington for Argentina, President Trump canceled by airborne tweets 2 high-profile G-20 meetings with Vladimir Putin. He did so, quote, based on the fact that the ships and sailors have not been returned to Ukraine from Russia. Russia continues to hold 3 Ukrainian naval vessels and more than 20 sailors it seized last weekend in the Black Sea. A short time earlier on the South Lawn, the president said the Putin meetings were still on.
We haven't terminated that meeting. I think it's a very good time to have the meeting.
The abrupt reversal occurred after the president conferred with top national security officials, and it also came shortly after word of Michael Cohen's plea deal, admitting to lying about a Trump Organization development project in Moscow, a topic that would surely have prompted intrusive questions at the G20.
We're not happy about it at all.
Russia's recent naval aggression will test how tough Mr. Trump intends to be protecting Ukraine, something he accused former President Obama of lacking. In 2014, the Russians seized the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine, a move widely condemned by the international community. The Trump administration has sent lethal weapons like these anti-tank missiles to Ukraine, and U.S. National Guard forces have trained the Ukrainian army against Russian-backed separatists. President Trump also faces a high-stakes showdown here Saturday night over dinner with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Hundreds of billions of dollars in new tariffs are on the horizon, as is the prospect of a full-blown trade war. That war will commence, a senior White House advisor said, unless Beijing stops paying lip service and ignoring persistent Trump administration demands for fairer trade practices from Beijing and more U.S. access to Chinese markets. Tanya?
And Major, turning back to Russia, what more do we know about the conflicting information about a Trump Organization development project in Moscow?
Well, what we have is the Trump Organization and Trump himself saying, you know, that was basically killed off, or we decided not to do it December or at the latest January of 2016, right as the Iowa caucus and the ensuing primary caucus process was about to kick off. And there was nothing wrong about it. It was a business decision, and there was never any more communication. Now we have Michael Cohen saying, in fact, he had communications long after that about trying to keep this so-called Moscow project going and seeing if it might come to fruition, and that he had conversations with those involved, including then candidate Trump, even talking about a trip for Cohen to go to Moscow and possibly even candidate Trump at some point in the 2016 campaign, in all likelihood after the Republican National Convention. That is in conflict with what Cohen said earlier. The central legal question here is, was Cohen freelancing, essentially trying to keep this deal alive for himself, not necessarily for candidate Trump? And was he freelancing in a way that either didn't catch Donald Trump's attention or his concern? All of that is now open to speculation and legal questioning, because there is this now very clear conflict in the stories told by the Trump Organization and Donald Trump and now Michael Cohen. So those conflicts, until they're resolved, are going to feed speculation and deepen the sense of wonder about what Special Counsel Robert Mueller is trying to get at with both these questions to President Trump, one of which, and some sub-questions about the Moscow project, and now getting this plea deal from Michael Cohen and his admission to lying after securing written answers from President Trump. The coincidental aspect of Mueller receiving the president's written answers and then this plea deal to lying from Michael Cohen certainly feeds a sense that Mueller might be onto something even bigger than was revealed in court today.
Indeed. And Major, President Trump has retained a largely positive tone regarding Vladimir Putin, even as there have been reports of the nation meddling in the U.S. 2016 elections. Could Russia's aggressions, though, regarding Ukraine have a long-lasting negative impact on President Trump's Russia relations?
Well, this is being perceived, certainly here in Argentina and probably elsewhere, as a test of just how tough President Trump wants to be with Russia over Ukraine. This is fresh aggression on President Trump's watch. He's been very critical of Russian separatists claiming Crimea in eastern Ukraine under President Obama's watch, saying if President Obama had been tougher, had been more aggressive, had been more assertive, it either wouldn't have happened or would have been reversed. Well, now there's fresh aggression from Russia. Vessels have been seized, as have Navy personnel belonging to Ukraine. That's the reason the president said he canceled his scheduled meetings here with Vladimir Putin. But is that going to be the sum total of the administration reaction? Canceling a couple of meetings with Vladimir Putin and doing nothing else? No new sanctions, no new shipments of lethal weaponry to Ukraine, which, it's fair to point out, the Trump administration has done in ways the Obama administration never did. So the Trump administration would argue it has been tougher against Russia in some respects than the Obama administration. But this could be a frontline test of just how much President Trump wants to invest in Ukraine, how much he wants to confront Vladimir Putin, and will this new aggression provoke an even stronger response from President Trump than a couple of canceled meetings, as President Trump tries to demonstrate and make real and understandable to Putin and Moscow what he says was President Obama's lack of toughness, what is going to be the definition and the visibility of Trump toughness on Ukraine. It's an open question here.
Yeah, as you said, fresh aggression on his watch. What will he do? Major Garrett, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.